Before I start tonight, I want to tell you that this story is different from the ones we usually tell here. There are no footsteps in the dark, no unlocked doors, no glass of water on a table you never touched, no one standing in a doorway that should be empty. This one starts somewhere quieter than that. It starts with a woman who was lonely. Genuinely, ordinarily lonely. The kind of lonely that doesn't feel dramatic enough to talk about, but sits in you like weather. It starts with a Reddit post. It starts with a boy in Finland with dark curly hair and snow pressed against his window and a small blue charm above his door that his mother had hung there for reasons he never quite explained. And it ends in a kitchen. I'll let you decide, as you listen, when exactly it stopped being a love story and became something else. Some of you will know before I tell you. Some of you won't know until the very last line. Content warning: the final section of this video contains disturbing imagery. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been here before, you already know what we do. We listen. We stay dark. This is the story of the girl who kept getting her heart broken.
I knew the rules before I broke them. You don't meet people from the internet. You don't post your real photograph. You don't add a selfie just because you'd finally, after 3 solid years of practice and more YouTube tutorials than any adult should admit to, gotten your eyeliner to match on both sides. I did all of those things anyway. I was 28 years old. I worked from home. I had a plant that I talked to more than I talked to most people, and I'm not sure the plant was getting that much out of the arrangement either. I had 3 close friends I loved deeply, genuinely, completely, but I had been circling the same 3 problems for months, and I could hear in their voices the particular kind of patience that people use when they are running low on it. Not unkindness. Just the natural limits of people who have their own lives, their own problems, their own plants they were probably neglecting. So one evening in October I opened a subreddit I'd seen recommended somewhere for people looking to make new friends, and I typed out a post. 28 female, looking for platonic friendships, people between 25 and 30, doesn't matter where in the world, just someone to talk to. I said platonic twice, once in the title, once in the body, because the last person I'd met this way had decided that platonic was a starting position rather than a destination, and I didn't have the energy to go through that again. I added the selfie because I'd just gotten a cute haircut and the eyeliner was, for once, even on both sides, and some small stubborn part of me wanted to document evidence that I was a person who existed and looked like someone and was worth talking to. Within an hour, I had more than 100 messages. Most were from men. I read through them for longer than was good for my evening. Some were friendly for a few exchanges before becoming something else entirely. Some were lonely in a way that made me feel guilty, like I was wasting something by not writing back, even though I knew that guilt was a manipulation I was performing on myself. Some didn't bother with normal at all and went directly to asking what I slept in, where I lived, what platonic meant, as if the word were a suggestion I might be talked out of, rather than a condition I had already set. 2 women messaged me. One asked what shows I watched and then disappeared before I finished answering. The other sent me a link to a Discord server she was building. 47 channels organized by interest, a welcome document with a 6-paragraph code of conduct, and a pinned message explaining the proper way to introduce yourself. I wished her the best and gently closed the app. And then, somewhere between the disappointing and the strange, he wrote. His first message was for words. Where are your features from? I almost ignored it. I have been asked that question in one form or another my entire life. Where are you from? Where are you really from? Are you native? Are you mixed? Are you Spanish? Have you done one of those DNA tests? You look like my cousin. You look like a painting I once saw somewhere. You look exotic. You look like something I can't quite name. People ask it like they invented the question, like they're the first person who ever thought to wonder. I had my hand over the ignore button. Then a second message came through. I'm sorry. That was badly phrased. I only meant, your face reminds me of the icons in my grandmother's house. I sat with that sentence for a long time. It made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't immediately locate. Not offense, exactly. Something more like being seen from an angle I hadn't prepared for, which was probably why I answered. That's the thing about discomfort. Sometimes it's a warning, and sometimes it's just the feeling of a door opening that you weren't expecting. His name was Andreas. He asked me to call him Ari, Greek by origin, born in Thessaloniki, raised partly in Finland, living in a city whose name made my mouth feel full of cold water when I tried to say it. He was 21, which was under the age range I'd put in the post, and he told me that immediately, before anything else. I know I'm too young for what you asked. I only wanted to ask the question. You don't have to keep talking to me. That was the second reason I answered. He wasn't trying to charm me. He was almost formal. The way people are formal when they come from somewhere that takes words seriously. He asked questions and waited for the answers. He didn't fill silences. He didn't send casual late-night messages pretending to be accidental. When he eventually sent a photograph, he was standing at a distance from the mirror, both hands visible in the frame, as if he understood that I needed to see he was holding nothing. He looked kind. He also looked tired. His face was narrow. His hair was dark and curly. His eyes seemed slightly older than the rest of him. In the second photo, snow was pressed against the glass behind him and a small blue charm hung above the doorway. I asked what it was. For the evil eye, he said. Do you believe in that? He paused before answering. My mother does. That was how he handled anything strange or old. He never claimed belief for himself. He gave it to someone else. My grandmother used to say, people in my family know better than to. My mother worries about. I thought it was cultural. I thought it was interesting. I was right about both things, in the end. We talked about ancestry first. His, because I asked back. He described Greece and Finland in alternating pieces, as if neither country had fully finished with him. He sent photographs of food his mother made and the results of his attempts to recreate them, which were genuinely terrible and which he documented with a humble honesty I found endearing. He sent snow from his window. He sent voice notes while walking home, his breath catching in the cold. I started waiting for the voice notes. Then I started needing them. There is no graceful way to describe becoming attached to someone you've never been in the same room with. It starts as something you do between other things. Then it becomes the thing. Then one day you realize your days have quietly rearranged themselves around a person who doesn't yet exist in 3 dimensions. You know their kettle by sound, their mood by the length of their pauses, the exact way their voice drops when they're tired and trying to stay awake through the end of what you're saying. He learned me quickly. He noticed when I was pretending to be fine. He remembered names I mentioned once in passing. He asked eventually about the person before him. The one who had broken my heart. His name was Owen. I told Ari plainly. We'd met the same way. A friendship post. Messages. Months of building something real. 2 dates. Then he was gone, account deleted. Phone unanswered. Vanished so completely that I'd spent weeks wondering if I had constructed him from loneliness. Ari was quiet for a moment after I finished. Then he asked, did he say goodbye? I said he didn't. He nodded. His expression shifted in a way I couldn't name. Not quite pity, not quite something else. I'm sorry, he said. I smiled at my screen. It's fine, I told him. People leave. He nodded again, but his face had gone strange. That was Ari. He could be warm for an hour talking about the neighbor upstairs who vacuumed every Sunday like she was punishing the floor, or the little Greek grocery where the owner always sent him home with more than he'd paid for. And then a single sentence from me would make him look past the camera toward the blue charm above his door. Once, during a video call, he asked me to angle my camera away from the mirror behind me. Why? I asked. I don't like seeing you twice, he said. I laughed at him for that. He smiled. Another time, he messaged me at 4 in the morning his time. Marie, do you ever wake up hungry? I typed back. Every single day. I'm from a Mexican family. This is not a quirk. It's a medical condition. He didn't reply for 6 hours. When he finally did, he wrote, forget I asked. I was half asleep. By month 3, the conversations weren't platonic anymore. By month 4, I was making jokes about robbing a cradle. By month 6, I had booked a flight to Finland. I did the safety things. I want to be clear about that. I booked my own hotel. I sent my friend his full name and address and every screenshot I had. She named the folder If Marie Dies in Finland, which I found both alarming and completely accurate to her personality. The plan was dinner first, something public, no airport pickup, no going anywhere private. I wanted to see the northern lights with him. That was the image that finally moved me across an ocean. standing somewhere dark while the sky turned colors above us. Ari beside me, real and warm and no longer made of pixels. He'd promised to take me to the frozen harbor, to the little Greek grocery, to a cafe that made cinnamon cardamom buns he'd described so many times I felt like I had already tasted them. He said if everything felt normal, he'd make lemon soup in his apartment. He warned me not to judge his kitchen. I landed on a Friday. He was at the airport even though we'd agreed he wouldn't be. I was annoyed for approximately 3 seconds. Then I saw the flowers paper wrapped, slightly crushed from being held too long, and his face, which was nervous in the specific way of someone who had practiced calm and failed at the last moment. He kept shifting the bouquet from one hand to the other like he'd forgotten which hand was supposed to hold it. "You came," he said. "You keep saying that like I snuck in." I told him. For a moment, he smiled the way he smiled through screens. Then his eyes moved past my shoulder to the empty space behind me. I turned. There was no one there. The first day was almost perfect. We walked through snow. We drank coffee too hot to taste. He bought me a pastry and laughed when the powdered sugar landed on my coat. He showed me the harbor, vast and gray-white, and the church his mother wrote letters to, and the grocery where the man behind the counter said something that made Ari go red to his ears. He held my hand. At dinner, he ordered enough food for 4 people and ate almost none of it. "You okay?" I asked. He looked at my mouth before answering. "Yes," he said. "That wasn't convincing. I'm nervous. Because I'm older and extremely intimidating." "No," he set his fork down. "Because you're really here." "That was the plan," I said. "I know. You're acting like I showed up without warning." Something moved behind his eyes. "I know," he said again. I thought about the aurora forecasts he'd sent. I thought about the months of voice notes and the sound of his radiator and the way he looked at the blue charm above his door. "I thought you wanted me here," I said. He opened his mouth, then looked down at his plate. After dinner, he walked me to my hotel. The snow had softened by then. Bigger flakes, slower. I kept letting my shoulder brush his because I wanted him to stop being strange. I wanted him to become again the person I had carried across an ocean in my chest. At the entrance, he stopped. "You should go in," he said. "Alone?" I said. "Please," he said. He was standing very close. Snow had melted into his curls. His cheeks were red. He had the crease between his eyebrows, the one that appeared on every video call when he was trying to translate a feeling before the words arrived. I kissed him, a small one. His mouth was cold and softer than I'd imagined, and his fingers tightened around the flowers between us. For a moment, he kissed me back. Then he pulled away hard enough to stumble. "Sorry," he said. "For what?" He touched his own lips. "My mother said not to bring you home tonight." I stared at him. That's a strange thing to say after kissing someone. "It's not about that." "Then what is it about?" He looked at the hotel doors. He looked at the flowers. He looked at the places I wasn't. "She worries," he said. "About me?" He met my eyes. "About me," he said. The next morning he apologized. He said he'd slept badly. He said his mother was overprotective. He said she'd used a word in Greek he didn't want to translate. "Translate it," I said. "No. Does it mean something bad?" He looked at me for a long, careful moment. "It means she should mind her own business," he said. That night, I went to his apartment. His building had yellow light in the stairwell and boots lined up neatly outside other people's doors. His apartment smelled like radiator heat and coffee. And him. The blue cabinets were real. The ugly lamp was real. The sweater from every video call hung over the back of a chair. I felt something close to vertigo. 6 months of evidence becoming solid, becoming something I could touch. He was nervous in the way people are nervous when they want something so badly they've forgotten how to want it calmly. He kept picking things up and setting them down. The kettle, a mug, the box of tea. He apologized twice. He almost burned his fingers. "You know you don't have to make tea if you don't want tea," I said. "I want to make you tea. You've been holding that spoon for 3 minutes." He looked at the spoon like it had appeared in his hand without explanation. Then he laughed, a real one, and I felt the strangeness between us lift. He made terrible tea. Too much water in 1 cup. Not enough in the other. He forgot whether I wanted sugar. It was the most endearing thing I had ever witnessed, which tells you something about the state I was in. He smiled. Then the smile faded. "You're okay?" I asked. "Yes. You don't seem okay." "I'm nervous." "I'm nervous too," I said. He nodded. He looked past me toward the hallway, toward the coat on the hook. toward the blue charm above the door. Is your mother going to appear? I asked. No? Good. I only know good morning in Greek. That got a real smile. Then I stepped closer, and he went still. He was one of those people who are so careful about not making you uncomfortable that the carefulness becomes its own kind of tension. It made me love him more, which was the wrong response. But love rarely asks permission. You can touch me, I said. His eyes moved to my mouth and away. I know. You don't have to. I know that too. I was far from home and very much in love with the version of him I had carried across an ocean. So I kissed him first. When I did, he made a sound like relief. He was trembling. His hands came to my waist carefully, like asking a question, and then his fingers curled into my sweater. I touched his cheek and he closed his eyes. He looked so young like that. He kissed me carefully at first, like he was afraid of doing it wrong. Then he kissed me harder, and for a moment there was nothing else, no post, no flight, no blue charm above the door. Only his hand at my waist, my fingers in his hair, the radiator ticking in the wall, the snow continuing its slow work outside the window. Then something shifted. My jaw moved in a way it doesn't usually move. I pulled back embarrassed. Disoriented, and Ari looked at my mouth with an expression that made the kitchen go absolutely still. Marie, he said, small, barely a word. I tried to answer. My tongue wasn't where it should have been. My teeth didn't meet correctly. I stepped toward him and he stepped back. He said my name again. His eyes kept dropping to my mouth and rising back to my face with an effort I could see. I put both hands on his face gently. His skin was warm. His mouth opened to say something, and mine opened wider. I won't describe everything that happened next. I'll tell you that the tea glass broke on the floor. I'll tell you that the blue cabinet will always be something I remember the exact color of it, and the sound his heel made against it. I'll tell you that his hands fought first and then weakened and then stopped. I'll tell you that the radiator kept knocking in the wall the entire time, indifferent, the way radiators are. I'll tell you that he tasted like lemon. When it was over, I was kneeling on the kitchen floor in my wool socks, one hand on the cabinet, breathing through my nose. The snow kept falling outside the window. There was one of his curls on my lip. Then I remembered Owen. Not everything, just pieces. His nervous laugh. His hand on my back the second time we met. The hopefulness on his face that I had found both touching and slightly embarrassing. I remembered crying when he was gone. I remembered telling people he had broken my heart. I started crying now, on Ari's kitchen floor, with broken glass near my knee and lemon still in the back of my throat. Because why do they always disappear before it works out? Ari's phone lit up on the table. A message from his mother, in Greek, but one word I recognized immediately. Lamia. I know that word. I don't speak Greek, but I know what people call girls like me when they have very old names for it. Lamia, Empusa, Stabe, Mandarugo, Yakshi, Pontianak. Different languages, different mothers, different sons who were told, in whatever the local word for it was, not to let me in. The screen went dark. I opened my own phone. My Reddit post was still up. New messages waiting. The same messages, more or less. Hey, hi, saw your selfie. I'm lonely too. Platonic is fine. You have interesting eyes. Where are you from? Where are your features from? I know I should take it down, but the thing is, I keep getting my heart broken. They always disappear before it works out.
We don't usually have much to say after a story like that. Some of you will look up Lamia tonight. Some of you already know the name. Leave what you think in the comments. We read every single one. Subscribe. Stay dark. And if someone messages you asking where your features are from, just think about it before you answer.